And Sam, and welcome to What Are We Doing Here?
Let's get yapping. What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Welcome to, what are we, episode 4?
The dog is drinking water. Story of my life. We start and the dog is drinking water.
We said episode 1, this is not going to be perfect. So, you know, you get what you get, right?
We are learning. The first time, our lighting sucked, and my mic was really low, and yours was really high.
Yes.
And then, second one, I was in a white color, and you were in dark, and we've noticed that we can't do that. Yep. 3 was better. We had better flow. And now we're on 4, and we're in colors. We got lighting.
I got a new chair, so I don't know if people saw it in episode 3. I kept so I have a new chair, so that's not going to happen, which is really nice, too.
Mm-hmm. So, oh my God, I want to talk about the planes.
The planes?
I sent you a bunch of reels about it. I sent you so many reels about it because you said you had no idea. And I brought you into my... Okay, welcome to episode 4 of What Are We Doing Here? And then to start this off, I want to put my tinfoil hat on for just a second. just a second. Minute.
We're starting off strong. Let's go.
We're starting off with tinfoil hats because I was really excited about this and Sam had no idea.
Unknown.
So there was a F-35, and I'm sorry if I get any of this information wrong to the people out there. I'm going to try my best to remember. We are not correct.
We said in episode 1 that this will not be perfect and we will say things incorrect. So you signed up for this. You're on episode 4. Go.
Yep, I'm telling you guys right now, it may not all be facts, but this is just what I've seen and what I've heard and my conspiracy theory about it, okay? So there was the stuff with the drones that happened that still no one said whatever, and apparently now it was like part us, part not us, whatever. I don't really know. Okay. Well, then there was the F-35 crash that was in Alaska, which is Air Force. The guy was fine, but the plane crashed during a training exercise. Then you had the Black Hawk helicopter with the plane in D.C. that crashed.
That's a crazy helicopter to crash because that thing is massive.
Well, and if you think about it, I don't know exactly what's all in these helicopters, but from what I've heard, it's like you have radar, you have so many things in there to be able to see things around you.
Yes. And
you didn't see a plane? You didn't see the plane coming? Like, I know accidents happen. I really do. But then there was, oh God, I don't remember where it was at, but there was another plane that caught fire. There's been a lot of things on Instagram and that I've seen from all over where there's planes, like Delta planes, United Airlines, whatever the hell the other different airplanes, whatever are. People are, like if there's important people on the plane, it's either having mechanical issues or having to emergency land. The engines are catching on fire. The planes almost ran into another plane on the... Planes are... there's not many crashes for airplanes over...
No. Flying
it hardly ever happens.
Driving.
Yeah. So now it's like not right now. But then there's a conspiracy theory that it's like they're trying to off... Yes. That someone is trying to off people on the planes. There's also the other theory that like, hey, Area 51 thing that came along that they were like, oh yeah, no, this actually was true. And now we're like, didn't hear that either?
It existed? No,
they did.
COVID?
Yes.
Middle of COVID, they said 51 does exist. Surprise. And everybody was like, I don't care. I don't care.
Yes. And everyone was like, yeah, we already knew you were lying to us. Thank you for coming clean. But we already knew.
I remember that being the one thing that the government came out with. That during COVID, everybody was like, hornet bees and all of this, that when the government said, yeah, hey, there's aliens in Area 51, everybody, like, didn't give it the time of day. And then all I saw about it was people being like, why did we not care? We kept being like, nah, whatever. One more thing this year.
Well, so the planes.
Yes.
It's protected airspace. And then you have the UFOs and now Area 51 and whatever. And so there's like drones. A big thing, then the drones that like someone's in the airspace.
Okay.
And now since we're not either taking them seriously or whatever, or someone's trying to fuck with something and it's throwing something off that once you're getting to a certain point, things aren't working correctly. And that's why there's been so many accidents with planes recently. Because it's right after all this drone stuff. And again, I don't know what's true, but there's a lot of it to go, something's not right here. someone's not telling the truth. Like, who's lying? I don't know. Is it weird coincidences? I don't know. But enough has happened to where I go, I don't know what's going on here. And again, I don't have the answers. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to be like, it's aliens, it's this, it's the government, it's someone trying to kill important people.
Don't always require answers, but I have questions.
Yeah. I don't know if I have the answers. I have questions. I have lots of questions.
Somebody will comment to tell us. So please, if you are in the tinfoil hat on this one, please comment and let us know what your thoughts are. But I have questions because clearly I have no idea. Is the conspiracy that... What's the general consensus on this conspiracy? Is it a universe type thing? Is it an alien type thing? Or is it a human type thing? Or that's clearly
that's what I don't know. Because it's like I've heard a little bit of both. I've heard like, okay, there's a link between the drones because the drones aren't ours. And then you have the drones that some people said were going too fast to this, to that for it to be anything that's like man-made.
Okay.
So then it's like, okay, is the drone some extraterrestrial life from not from here?
That was a good word.
That's down here. Extraterrestrial. You're welcome. I don't even know if that's the right word for all of this, but we're gonna.
No, that is the right word. That wouldn't have come out of my mouth. I knew what I would have.
But so that's the thing is, it's like, was that something else, and now they're trying to cover it up, but since they tried to cover it up, now they're going, oh, will you try to cover us up when we try to come down here, and so we're gonna kind of fuck with your planes?
Why?
Like, I don't, it's either that or it's like something's going on to where they are trying to kill people off that know too much information, and so that's why these crashes are happening, is to kill off specific people, which again, I have no idea. There was a lot of young kids on the flight in DC
that people are going back and forth.
Yeah, it's the government trying to kill people off, or it's aliens. I don't know the answer. I just know that something weird is happening with planes, and
you answered my questions, and I had no idea when you texted me, and you were like, do you know about this? And I said no, and you said, perfect, I'll save it for the podcast. But plane crashes are so less, it is way, there's more crashes in cars. Planes are, like, very rare, and so the fact that it's, like, boom, da boom, da boom is very strange. Makes me go, that feels weird. It feels off.
Yeah, and it's like, again, all this is coming from social media, which we already know can easily lie all the time, so I haven't dug, and that's where I'm, like, I'm kind of just putting it out there. I didn't dig into any of this. I saw it and
this isn't a fact podcast.
All this kind of looked weird, right? So it's like, I know, obviously, we know the one in Alaska, we know the one in DC happened, and then there's another one that, like, caught fire, but all the other ones I kind of saw, I don't know if they're old, I don't know if they're from forever ago, that now people are like, oh my god, see, there's more, like, I didn't look and see if they were true. It could easily have happened, but I'm going, there's kind of a lot of stuff that's happened for me to kind of question. Yeah, that's my tinfoil hat of the days. This is too much of this seems weird to me. But I also think a lot of people lie to us all the time. So then I go, all right, I'm gonna go back to my daily life, and this is gonna be what this is.
Yeah. Well, I was never a big conspiracy theorist. When I was in school, like, all I had time for was school. And then Hunter is, I mean, massively into conspiracy. Everything is a conspiracy. I love him to death, but my God. And so there's been a few things that I've picked up and been like, oh, that's a little weird. Or like the food. Like, I had a health problem. Long story short, because I don't want to go into the full story right now, but like, long story short, I found out that I had gained 60 pounds. I was in so much stomach pain, had no idea. Doctors, colonoscopy, the whole 9 yards. And they were like, oh, nothing's wrong. So I did a food sensitivity test, found out I was allergic to dairy, and cut it out completely. My whole life changed. But when I went to all of those doctors and nobody ever looked at, I kept a food log, I kept a when I went to the bathroom log, I kept everything, and nobody wanted to talk to me. And then that one ER doctor was like, I probably shouldn't say this, but you should try the holistic route. Then I did. It changed my life. And so after that, I started looking into food. I started looking into medical conspiracies. And that's my jam of conspiracy theories.
You know, we're the only country that you can advertise drugs on the TV, right? Like if you go to another country, they don't have commercials for
like weight loss drugs that were all over the
weight
Super Bowl
loss
commercial.
Yes, like the weight loss drugs or whatever. Like any other country, you can't advertise that. We're the only country that you can advertise. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
To me, oh yeah, yep. We're the only country that can advertise it. It's like why? Yeah, see, why do we advertise this stuff to people?
Wild to me.
That's what makes me feel like it's more like you're a sales rep at this point. You're not a doctor. You're a sales rep. And so it's hard for me to trust you at a certain point if I feel like you're just pushing me towards a drug because it's going to make you more money. And it's not really going to help me. Do I think some drugs are great? Sure, there are. There are drugs that are wonderful and can help people and great, cool, let's go for it.
Yeah. And there are, we'll preface this, absolutely fantastic doctors, surgeons, nurses. You're amazing. But the industry is where I had the problem because after the colonoscopy and an endoscopy, I was shish kebabbed.
You're welcome.
I can't believe I just said that out loud. I mean, I've said it before, but camera and lights feel a little different. Welcome. I told you I would tell you the truth, right? So after I did all of that and they couldn't find anything, they were like, let's try a CT. Why? You were... what would you be missing? What would you be missing? And so... See, the industry, and that is like my brand of conspiracy and like the food conspiracy. Aliens are interesting because I am totally in the tinfoil hat of they absolutely exist. I think it's a little ridiculous to believe that these complicated human beings are the only thing ever. But that's my tinfoil hat of the day.
Great. Well, well, if you guys have any conspiracy theories or tinfoil hat things that you would like us to either talk about or you want to talk about with us, like, I am here for it. It reminds me of that comedian that was like, you can't trust someone if they believe in zero conspiracy theories. Like, not one. Like, you believe everybody's telling you the truth. Like, you don't question a goddamn thing. Like, you know what I'm talking about? He's like, you have to believe in at least one. Yeah, you have to believe in at least one.
I've seen other comedians do similar things of the same type of idea, like you don't believe in anything. They're like, your ex-boyfriend Joe lied. You're thinking the government doesn't lie? And I was like, that's funny. Are we going to get, not shadow banned, what's the term when you get kicked off because we said drugs, government, conspiracies.
Oh, man.
Well, if you hear this episode, we did good.
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know what that's called, but I know what you're talking about. Like, it's just we're gonna disappear into the void. No one's gonna know this episode. But
it's just gonna be like, cannot post. You guys are ridiculous. But if you guys have conspiracies, or please tell me if you relate to one of ours so that we're not the only ones in the tinfoil hat. We would love to talk about it. We could talk about it with you, but we have kind of perfect segue is we got a message from, I was going to say our friend, but I'm just going to out her. It's my mom. Hi, Mom. Thanks for the advice.
Hi, Mom.
Hi. She had said, tell us about your expectations of your 20s. Was it better than you expected? Was it worse than you expected? Was it different? You know, like, since we're in our late 20s, like, what did we think at 21 our life was gonna be? So we kind of want to talk about that because that was a great idea.
I thought it was a great question. So I can go first. So my expectations. So I graduated high school at 17. I was in college at 17, so I was not even an adult in college, and I graduated college before I was 21.
She's a freaking genius.
So I graduated college at 20, turned 21 a few months later.
That's wild.
So I was starting life at 21. I got my first job, like big girl job. And so my whole 20s has been really outside of school versus yours. I feel like is different. But so mine was all outside of school, but I always felt like I was on this like checklist. So it was like check one, like graduate high school. Cool. Go to college. Get a degree. You know, get engaged. Get married. Get a job. Have kids. Buy a house. Have dogs. Like, there was all this check marks of what I thought you needed to have in life. And I got through all of that. I had a house. I had kids. I had a husband. I had a job. I had dogs. I had a car. Like, I had all of it. I was financially independent. All the things. But then I looked and I was probably around 24, 25, maybe a little bit before then, but I didn't realize it until we started talking maybe a year ago about this, that I was like, I was just checking things off a list.
Yeah.
I was just checking it off the list and going, ta-da, I have all the things. But then I kind of introspective looked and I went, is this really what I want though? Is this the life that I wanted to create? Mm-hmm. Am I happy with the life that I created? Or was I, like I said, was I just checking off the boxes? Was I really doing the things that I wanted to do to the standard that I wanted to do them to? So, yeah, I bought a house, but it was in a weird neighborhood and there was problems and there was this. And was it the best financial decision at that time? And okay, yeah, we got 2 dogs and then we got 3 dogs. Should we have gotten the 3 dogs? Like, or was it just we had these for so long, let's get another one. Like, it was just another step in the road without going, what standards am I setting for this? So what are the standards for my life? What are the standards for the people around me? What are the standards for my house? Like, all the things. So my expectation was
moving forward without thinking about why, or like if you enjoyed the stuff.
I just thought it was what you were supposed to do. So I just did it. And it wasn't like do I want to do this? It was like, well, that's the next step, so let's do it. Mm-hmm. So that kind of hit me hard probably about a year ago when I was like, oh my God, I was checking off the steps. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't ever asking myself if that's something I really wanted. So retrospect, I wouldn't change anything. I think it made me who I am now. But my advice to people in the same situation or coming out of school is, don't just do the next thing because it's another step in the process of life. Like, don't be afraid to be 30. Because my thing was, people were like, oh, if you're not married by the time you're like out in corporate world, or you're not in a serious relationship by the time you're in your big girl job, you're never going to have time to find somebody. You won't ever meet anyone, blah, blah. So it was like, oh, I have to get this done before I have to make sure I'm in a secure relationship before I start my job. And then it was like, okay, I started my job, I'm in this secure relationship, but if that relationship wasn't meeting the standards, it was like, well, you can't get rid of it because then you're starting from scratch. So that's just my advice to people now is go, if you're not happy with it, you either learn and you grow. Mm-hmm. And if it's not fulfilling you, like, it's never too late to start over. And don't be afraid to just be stuck where you're at. Just because you went, oh, well, I committed to this, I'm here. Now, am I saying quit your job every 6 months and move all over the place? No. But I'm saying, like, truly look, well, yeah, if you want to and you can, sure, why not? You do you, boo. But I would suggest, my advice to people is to don't just check something off a list because you think it's the next step in life. Mm-hmm. Like, don't be like, oh, well, I'm married now. The next step is kids. Like, are you ready for kids? Have you talked to other moms? Have you talked to people have you done your research? I tell people you're never ready for kids. Mm-hmm. But, like, don't just be like, well, I'm 23 and I'm married. Like, the next step is kids. Like, please don't. You might be ready, but don't just be like, oh, well, that's the next step. Or, oh, well, all my friends are having kids, so I should have kids. Like, that's not a thing. And don't be like, well, all my friends have this nice new car, so I need to go buy a nice new car. Like, can you is that what you want?
Yeah.
So is it worse or is it better than I expected? I think it was what I needed. Do I wish I would have done some things differently? Sure. Would I have still changed it? No, because I think I learned enough. But yeah, don't just check things off of a list because you think it's the next step in life. Like, don't do that. That's my advice.
I love that because the steps and you do this, this, and this absolutely relate to. Do you think that because you were out of school so young that you felt like an adult, like you were like, oh, gotta keep moving because I'm out of school? Or do you think that would have happened regardless if you were in school for another year or two or whatever.
I think it would have happened regardless just of who I am, because I was always super independent. Like, you can ask my mother, but from the time that I was very young, I was always really independent, doing my own thing. Like, I hardly ever needed parental, like, I don't, what
You're
am
just
I
doing
trying?
you.
I was doing me, but I was responsible. So it was always like, Bri's the responsible one. I didn't need somebody to check my decisions, because it was like I already was choosing the safer of the routes with my decisions. Like, I never made any reckless decisions growing up. I was never a wild child. I followed all the rules.
Was I.
I was in all the advanced classes, like all the things.
Same.
I was in 2-3 sports at a time. Like, no one ever had to make sure that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. Yeah. So it was like I was always responsible from a very young age. And so then being 20 and out of school, it was like I could have stayed in school another year. Yeah. I could have taken less classes and been in school longer, but then I was like, well, that's more money, and why would I stay in school another year just to waste money so I can be here for a year when I can do it all and be done early and save money, and then I'm out, and then I can get life experience, and then I can get a job. And so no, I don't think it would have changed anything if I was in school another 1 year or 5 years. I think it would have been the same outcome. Yeah, I still think I would have been pushing towards the same thing of like, what's the next step? What's the next step?
No, that makes sense. We're both very analytical, very just like on top of our shit. Like, I was the responsible kid too. Like, I've never snuck out of my house. I never got in trouble. Like, getting in trouble was so scary to me. Like, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I watched my older brother and sister get in trouble, and I said, I'm okay. That's not for me. I don't need to do that. I never got a spanking. I never got put in timeout or in the corner, or I got my things taken away. Like, I think the worst thing that ever happened to me was there was like 2 things. I got put in the corner one time for 5 seconds, and then I started crying, and my dad broke, and then me and him sat and talked, and then we were fine. And then the only other thing that happened was I got caught with my phone past 9 p.m. because we had to put our phones up by 9 p.m.
And I was trying to like curfew too. I didn't know that you had that.
Yeah, we had to put our phones up by 9 p.m. And so I like tried to sneak my phone, and I got caught. And so then my phone got taken away for like, I don't know, a week, a month, whatever it was. I don't really remember. But we
are best friends.
Yeah,
that's funny. I didn't know that.
You have a younger brother, but my younger brother got away with more stuff because he was the last one. And I was like, this would never have flown with me. And at that point, I mean, he's responsible too, and he's good and great and all the things, but I was like, you would have never let this slide if I was in the house. But my older brother and sister were the trouble kids, like talking back, sneaking out of the house, doing all the things. And so they constantly had their door taken away. They had, no cell phone, no this, no that. They were constantly grounded, like all the things, right? And so
of course you were like, gotta be.
Well, yeah, I was like, why would you guys do that? And they were like, come on, just do it. And I was like, I'm good. It's okay. I don't want to get yelled at. It's okay. Like, I was always the one, they called me the golden child. So I was always I was a golden child. I could never get in trouble. But if they wanted something, they'd be like, hey, go ask mom and dad if we can go
ask mom and dad for us.
Go ask mom and dad, because if you ask, they'll say yes. But if I ask, they're going to say no. And I was like, but I don't want to. And they're like, shut up. Yes, you do. Come on, let's go. Like,
don't do it.
You want ice cream. Let's go. So.
But you were like always just the responsible, like, even if you could get away with, like, you weren't gonna try and get away with
no,
things.
Not at all.
I mean, that was me just in a different, you got out of school and graduated college by 20, at 20?
Yep.
Or 21? 20.
20. And then I was 21 a few months later.
I was in school until I graduated in 2021, so 4 years ago, and you have had 8 years.
9. I'm coming up on
9.
I'm coming up on 9.
Oh, your birthday is in a few days.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 9. It'll be 9. Well, so a little over 8. It'll be 9 in December.
So 8 years, 9 years, and I'm sitting at 3, and so my check boxes were like very different. It was be good in high school, get good grades so you can get into a good college. Get into college, go to grad school, then go to a big girl job and do that. But it was never go. What's your
Why
question?
did you want to go to grad school? Like, what pushed you to go, I need a further education?
It was the fact that when I was looking for undergraduate degrees, my dad had said, don't do a forensics degree in case you change your mind. So do a
Mm-hmm.
more general degree. So I got my undergrad
Mm-hmm.
in molecular and cellular biology. But then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, all 4 years I wanted to do it. And so my class had an 8-week online class one time
Mm-hmm.
for forensics. So that was the only exposure I had. So then I wanted to have that exposure. So I went to grad school. And I
Okay.
think my parents both went to grad school. They didn't finish, or maybe my dad didn't go to grad school. My mom went to whatever. They're both like higher education, so it was always just something that was talked about. But then it
Mm-hmm.
was get good grades, get good grades, get good grades so you can get a good job. And then that was the end of it. I never got pressure to get married and have kids until now.
I
So
mean, I
like,
had no pressure. That was something that I totally put on myself because I just saw all my other friends and I just was like, oh, well, this is how life goes.
mhm.
You go to school, you get a job, you get a husband, you get kids, you get a house. Like, that's what I just thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because at the same age that you were seeing that, none of my friends were married. None of my friends had kids. None of my, like, you're the first friend I have that has kids that, like, hang around. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was all of my friends were my age. We were partying till 3 a.m. and then going to our biochem class. And then it was grad school and we were doing forensics and, like, it was all involved. And it was just,
Mm-hmm.
that school was all I thought about. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, it was when I came out of school, that was really hard. And I could kind of go like getting out of school was really hard because I went through a full blown identity crisis. I had been a student until I was 24. Like,
Okay.
I didn't know what else I was. I had always been a student. And so I was like, I don't know who I am or what I am. And my mom actually gave me great advice was come up with something new that, makes you feel that gives you like a label and identity or whatever. And I picked that I was a learner because that still matched with the school. That identity in theory didn't change. It just changed from
Mm-hmm.
school to learning. So I really liked that, but I remember going through a full-blown identity crisis. So I think my expectations of the 20s, like in high school, like I thought your 20s, you're an adult. I thought you felt like an adult and felt in charge of yourself. You felt like I'm a full-blown adult. Like that felt forever, but I didn't even think about being an adult while I was in school. Like in school, there was no outside world. There was no conspiracy. I didn't watch TV. Like I didn't even own a TV for the last 2 years. Um, so like all encompassing. School, what's going on? Because you don't have a job. All your job is your school and whatever. So I got out of college, freaked out, didn't know what to do, chose being a learner, got the job at the forensic lab, and then still didn't feel like an adult. And you and I have talked about this, and I've asked you, like, what makes you feel like an adult? Because I've asked you, do you feel like an adult? And you're like, of course I do, with some stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, there are still times that I don't feel like an adult, and not because my parents, in my head, I'm just not an adult because I don't feel like an adult. It's not because, yeah, of course my mom and I'm her daughter. In my head, that's like, yeah, duh, like that doesn't change it, but I don't feel like an adult. So I think that's been the weirdest part of my 20s, thinking that, of course, when you're older, you're going to feel like an adult, and then getting here.
Okay. I know we've talked about the adult thing, but you saying that, and I was like, I have felt like I'm an adult since I think I was like 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no joking. Like, I mean, I was in high school at 13. So from the time that I was in high school, I know it's nuts when you backtrack ages for me, but
That's wild.
I have always just been, I want to say emotionally more mature than whatever, but my mindset was always like, this school, this whatever, high school, college, this is just another step for me to get where I wanted to be. And where I wanted to be was in my job. And
Okay.
so it was like, I never was like, I'm a student, I'm this. It was always like, this is a necessity that I have to get done. And when
Got
I'm
it.
out of here, I'm out of here, and this isn't going to matter. Because to me, I'm like, stuff that I learned in school was not helping me for the real
Yep.
world in my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
think it helps you with how to think,
Yep.
critically thinking, and like stuff like that, and like formulating your own ideas and be able to articulate that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as a whole, for the real world experience and your job,
Different.
completely different. My undergraduate degree, sorry, I did not have a graduate degree. My undergraduate degree did not prepare me for my job in the sense that I go, oh, I did all this in school. It
Yeah.
prepared me for, and this was like my spiel when I went in there to interview. It was, I'm a quick learner. I'm passionate about this. I have the background information. I
Mm-hmm.
am a empty well. You
Yep.
teach me what you want to teach me, and it will be your way, and that's the only way I know. I do not already know some previous way. You don't have to reteach me something. You don't have to break any bad
It's a great
habits.
spiel.
I'm new, I'm fresh, I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to be here. Yeah, like so even in high school when I was dating, I was like, this isn't going anywhere because I'm going to go do something with my life and I'm not staying here. Like I would tell people that. Like I was like, this is not a serious thing. Like my mind was
Cool.
always like, I'm going places
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not staying here. So like when graduation hits, like I'm out. And it was the same with college. Like I had my friends, but I was like, I'm
That's
not
what you did the
staying
3 years.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not staying here. Like I got places I want to go, things I want to do, and this is just another
Interesting.
step that I have to complete. So I never was like, "Oh, I'm a student." I never felt that way. And I mean, I was a college athlete. Like I was busy. I also
Yeah.
would take a job when I could take a job. So I would work like in the admissions I was an admissions counselor at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the wellness center at the school, so I would help with like people checking in to go work out. I also was a TA after I graduated for a few
Geez, you
months.
picked the hard ones. You picked like
They
actual jobs.
they were just they paid well and I was already there. So I was like, why am I not getting paid for already being here?
Mm-hmm.
But I would have summer jobs. Like I would go
Yeah, I
work
worked in the
at
summers.
like yeah, I worked in the summers only a couple times, not very often, because a lot of people do not want to hire help just for a few months for them to leave. It's honestly
See,
really hard.
that was where waitressing was so perfect because I like worked in the summer and then over the winter and I made all of my money that I needed to last me. So the school year I didn't have it. It was only in my
Mm-hmm.
senior year that I got a job for extra money. So like mine, I nobody ever talked about like in my head school was the thing. And so it's interesting to hear that you said like your thing was always your job. Like that's what you were going through. You're like the school didn't matter. Like of course you want to do good and you did cuz you're a good apple. But like the job was your end thing. Me, it was always like school is the most important because it will get you a job, but it was like you get a big girl job and that was like the end of the story. And so like when you say you felt like an adult, like I was always the most responsible. Like nobody had to check in on me, nobody had to make sure I was doing my homework. My mom would like when I was sick, like I would beg my mom to go to school and she'd be the one being like, "Don't do your homework, like go out and party, like go do something." And I just that didn't
Uh-huh.
me. But so even though at the time like I was doing very adult things, like I was grocery shopping for the house, I was making sure bills were paid, I was organizing, I was taking care of my brother. Like I did a lot of things on one side, but then my dad would tell me like you're not an adult, you're a kid, like and it was this very like weird dynamic of like one time I'm very much an adult and then one time I'm very much like you're a dumb kid. And so I think that even though of course I've always been responsible, I still feel like the kid even
We've
though I live in Texas, away from my family, away from everybody else. Like it's literally just me for a while and now Hunter here, but like I still there's sometimes that I'm like, I don't know.
but we've talked about it. It comes in like you think I'm very strong in my convictions and what I stand for. And when I'm committed and I think something and I believe something, like, that's it. Like, I will always learn about stuff and I might change my views, but it's like once I'm there versus you were saying you changed based off of who you were with or who you were around, and like it was always what other people wanted to do and not what you wanted to do. I mean, I didn't feel like I was this way until you said it, and then I was like, shit, am I? Like, if I don't want to do something, I won't do it. And I'll just be like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't do that. Like, that's fine. But I'm so open to try stuff where I'll be like, I'll try it once. And then if I don't like it, I don't like it. But you've been so much better about it. Like, you went home and you were like, I didn't want to do something and I did it. I didn't do it. And I was like, yay. So, and you were like, I actually have beliefs. I have things that I stand in. And I think that's another thing is like, I was always so strong-willed about what I stood for and like grew up with that of like, I didn't have to believe everything my parents believed, but we would sit down and talk about it. And then that's what it was. So it was always like find what you believe and what you want to be and then be like, do it. Like what's stopping you? And so once I had that, it was like, that was it. And I feel like you said, you were more like wishy-washy until as of late. And then I think that's why you feel more like an adult now is you're like, no, I actually like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I believe in. I know what I want to be. Like you have more of not a core, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like you have more of a stronger core of this is Sam.
Yeah. No,
and
I love the core is a great example or is a great description of it. But like you said, I was very wishy-washy, and something I said to you when we first met, why I liked you was you had confidence in yourself. You trusted yourself. And until recently, like Super Bowl, my therapist and I talk about Super Bowl of 2024 a lot because I asked Hunter, do you think these pants will be comfortable? And at the time, I was just asking, but what I realized was I was asking for him to tell me what to feel. And so in the last year, because Super Bowl was just this weekend, like I am so much more convicted, but it still comes in waves because I spent so long not feeling like that. And you said, like, I saw the trust in yourself. And until recently, like, I didn't have that. And my therapist describes it as, like, when you go through abusive or traumatic experiences, or you go through just some shit, you, in my case, basically, when you're developing, you develop an outline. Like, think of, like, an outline in space. When you're 70 or 80, that's basically in Sharpie. Like, you are who you are, you're defined. Of course, you can change a little bit and flow, but, like, you have your core beliefs and your values. And she said, what basically I did was, while mine was forming, in pencil, I would erase part of it. And so it was very, like, fluid and loose, and it wasn't concrete. Like, I didn't have an opinion, or, like, I couldn't say, like, I liked that. Like, I could say it, but if you argued with me, I'd be like, oh, like, whatever, I don't know, or you know, things like that. And so I love that description that she gave me of you're building your outline, it's in pencil, and you start erasing it. And now I feel like it's half in pen and then the other half in pencil. Like, it's still, I'm very much in that. When I went home, I was like, I'm fully an adult. Like, I will turn this car around if you all piss me off. Like, it's my car, my life. But this week, right now at the moment,
And I think that happens. I mean, I don't think any of us are stuck, because even when you say that, I'm like, I do have confidence in myself that I go, if I don't know something, or if I'm going to tell you I believe it, I better know the information on it. I better know whatever. Or if not, I'm going to tell you, I don't know, but this is kind of what my instinct is telling me. And for the most part, I feel like I haven't been led wrong by my instincts and by like what I generally feel. And I might research something and go, oh, no, I messed up. And I think that's part of it too, is being able to go, no, I was wrong. Like, I looked at this and it was wrong and whatever. And like, all right. But that's learning. But what did you just, that analogy is great. One, love the analogy. There was something else you said too, and it was great. I know. I'm like, am I going to get it back? Am I going to get it back?
Well, I'll
Is it
tell
going to
another
happen?
story and you can see if you got it.
Yeah.
The reason I love your dad is because he teaches me to make decisions. And he would be like, what do you think? And I'd be like, oh my God, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I think. And you were like, oh, he used to do that to me all the time. And that's a big portion of why you have trust your instinct. Like, I never had that. When your dad asked me those questions, sometimes I panic a little bit because we're still learning. But, like, you grew up with that. And I think that was when I said, like, you have so much, like, you trust yourself. You were like, well, my dad did these things when I grew up.
Yeah. I think that's very important. I forgot I had told you that because, again, to me, it's like that's my normal. And for someone else to come in and go, you know, your dad does this. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, and now as a mom, I see it for what it was. And it's him teaching me to problem solve, to trust what's going to happen, to think about stuff. So when I think about it now, I do the same thing with the boys. I go, okay, well, what do you think? What's going to happen? Why do you think this is going to, do this? And I mean, they're 4.5, but it's still teaching you confidence in yourself. Dad still does it to me now. He'll be like, oh, I have this. Do you know what this does? And I'm like, all right, fuck, well, it's this. Let me think. And I'm like, I think it's this. And he'll be like, yeah. Or he'll be like, no, but like it's this. And I'm like, all right. And then he'll explain why. And it's all a learning, but it's not a, haha, you're wrong. And it's never to belittle. It's always to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that helps
to teach you.
And I think that's helpful for you. I think it's helpful for people in general, but you have to be willing to take it for what it is. Like, you can't be like, oh my God, he thinks I'm stupid. It's like, no, he really wants to teach you and wants you to be better. And if you know the answer, great. But if not, then you just gained information, and information and knowledge is important.
Yeah. Like, you have to be receptive. You have to be, I want to learn. So I love that he teaches me that and loves that. But it's also not only the trust yourself, but trust that if it goes wrong or you make the wrong decision, that you have the confidence to go, okay, I'll figure it out now. And to me, of course I'll figure out, even though I have figured out literally everything else in my life, everything else, learning that to trust that, look, I've been figuring it out, I can figure this out. That has been the big kicker of, like, we're half and half. Some days I got it and some days I don't. But of course, I went from 0 to now we're at 50-50. I feel like that's a pretty good change.
I feel like, I agree. I have a story that kind of leads into this or like kind of tops this off. So we used to go motorcycle riding. Can you hear the dog? She's going nuts. Give me fucking 5 seconds because she's driving me crazy. And I'm like, all I can hear is Sam going to edit this podcast and going, all I heard in the background was your dog going. Yep. So a good story about this is we would go motorcycle riding growing up all the time. It was like my family and my aunt, uncle, my cousin. We would all go out to the desert for like Thanksgiving week, be out there, ride motorcycles, pack it up, go home. We did it all the time. Well, I was probably 9, 10, 11-ish, around that time. That would put Whitney closer to 18.
Yep.
Yeah, that would put Whitney closer to 18. She's probably 17, 18 or whatever.
Makes sense.
Well, I remembered when we were going out there that my uncle was like, hey, that's the Ranger Tower. If you ever get lost and you go up here and you see a Ranger Tower,
what? Okay.
Get on this road. I don't think I've ever told you this story.
No, I have no idea what you're about to tell me. So I'm excited. Go.
So there's this Ranger Tower. If you ever get lost and you see this Ranger Tower, you get on this road, go left, take it all the way up. You'll end up running into the camp. Okay, cool, whatever. Okay, great, thanks, uncle. Like, cool, whatever, right?
Yep.
So we're out at camp. Whitney goes, hey, me and Bri are going to go on a ride. Okay, great, whatever, right? And so you have the RVs are in like kind of a semicircle. Okay. And we have flags at the top of them. So you kind of know from far away if you see the flags where your RV is and where your camp is. Yeah. It helps you see them. You have flags on the back of your bikes, like all the things.
Yeah.
So we're going and I'm following my sister, okay? Older sister. Yep. We're following her. She goes, oh, that hill. oh, that hill. Oh, let's just go one more hill, right? And we're going and we're going and we're going. And I'm like, Whitney, it's like, and then she's like, okay, we'll start heading home. And so we start heading home, and she's like, let's just go to that hill and see. So we keep going to the top of these hills, and we can't see anything. Mm-hmm. And then we keep going, and we can't see anything. Yeah. And I'm going, we've been out here a really fucking long time now. We have no water.
9-year-old
so she has a camel pack. Mm-hmm. So we're already almost out of water. My bike runs out of gas. I have to turn it on the reserve gas tank. I'm out of gas. We have to turn on the reserve gas tank, and I go, no, I'm getting us out of here. Like, you're lost. And she was like, yeah, I'm lost. Like, I don't know. And I was like, no, we're going to do this. Yep. So we get on a main road, and we're going and we're going and we're going. And I'm looking for anything that I can find that I'm going to recognize. Anything, a camp, whatever. I'll call them at some point. Like, if I could find anybody's camp. Yep. But you don't know who's out here. You're literally out in the desert, just out there. And so we're going.
I'm picturing 9-year-old you yelling at 18-year-old Whitney and being like, I know where I'm going. And she's like,
I was just like, you're freaking, because I was like, are we lost? And she was like, yeah, we're lost. And I was like, and I'm starting to panic because I'm like, we've been out here all day. We're not supposed to be gone this long. You're supposed to kind of stay around camp. You can be gone for a few hours, but going back,
water and out of gas.
The sun is starting to set, all the things, right? So we get on this road. At one point, the reserve is still kind of not, the reserve tank of gas is getting low. Whitney's bike has a clip, so we are towing my bike with hers, and I'm like, we're almost screwed. Really? We run into the freaking ranger station. And I go, I know exactly where we're at. And she was like, what? And I said, did you not hear Uncle when we came in? And she was like, no. And I said, he said if we saw the station, we'd go left and we'll run into camp. Sure as shit. We went and we made it to camp, and we got yelled at a little bit, but I was like, look, we made it. But I was like, thank you, Uncle, for telling me that, because I would have not known where to go. But it was just the fact that, like, stuff like that's important, and you don't think it is at the time. Mm-hmm. But it's the same, like, with safety or with animals or with this. Like, why is this thing dangerous, and what do you need to know to do if you get bit, if something happens? And I think that's where the problem solving, it's teaching you how to go, okay, yeah, I haven't been in this exact situation, but what other things do I know that could get me out of this? And I think my parents just did really well with teaching us how to do that. And so...
And building the confidence that at 9 years old, you were like, I'm going to get us out of here. You know, like, you were like, I trust that I'm going to get you out. Like, I'm going to get us out of there. And I have great problem solving skills. Like, I think I'm great at critical thinking and problem solving. Like, I've got that, but I can't make it compute in my brain that skill transfers over. You know, sometimes it's stuck in, like, school work area.
Well, I think, too, I don't know if you, but, like, when something like that comes up, do you tend to panic that you can't figure it out? Okay, so see, I don't panic, but me and Mom were just talking about this, too, that even with any medical things that happen, none of us kids, like, panic about it. You know, some people are like, oh my God, I gotta go do this, and they, like, freak out because there might be something wrong. Yeah. We go, okay, let's go get it done. And that's with anything. Like, I literally broke my finger at one point, and I was like, I think I broke my finger. I think we have to go to the doctor. And they were like, okay. And we went to the doctor. But there's, like, in my mind, when things happen, I go, freaking out is not going to help me. Yep. It's not going to help anybody. Nope. So keeping a calm head, I think, is also just something that just was taught to all of us, and that we all kind of get, like, literally something could happen.
Fear will kill you.
Yeah. Like, I think if something happens, that's probably one of the strongest traits that I have, is that I don't panic. It actually saved my life when giving birth, that I didn't panic, because it would have raised my blood pressure. It would have raised how fast my heart was beating, and I probably would have bled out. And so, like, not panicking in the situation, knowing in my brain, all right, if you start freaking out, your blood is gonna, or your heart is gonna pump faster, blood is gonna move more quickly, your body's gonna react. Like, knowing that stuff to happen was like all right, we gotta stay calm here. Like, this is, but it's the same, the boys get hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Like, there's no freaking out is gonna freak them out more.
Yeah.
And cause something worse. So I think, yeah.
It's like and maybe I should phrase it better, is like this weekend when we went camping, we didn't bring the air mattress plug to the to the campsite. Hunter started being like, oh, well, we gotta go home. And I was very calm. And like, when other people are freaking out, I go into it. But when I say freak out or panic, it's not outwardly, it's inwardly. You won't know that I'm panicking because I will keep it very cool, calm, and collected. But internally, I'm starting to make points. I'm starting to go, which has helped me in so many situations. I've been in scary situations that I've gotten out of because of it. I got really good grades in school because of it. I got good jobs and raises and things like that. So it's a fantastic part, but it mentally freak out because I go, okay, well, this and this, and what about this? And then I start thinking of A to Z instead of A, then B, then C. I'm going all the list, so it's internally, I'm panicking. And so I think that's been the biggest, like, full circle moment right now. Like, I think that's been the biggest expectation of being in your 20s that I didn't expect, was being an adult. And I think yours is doing the checklist and then looking around being like, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm not happy. Let me change it. Would you say that's kind of...
Yeah, I would think it was checking the list and then being like, is this really what I want? Is this the quality of what I want? And like, is it too late to change it?
Yeah.
Like, can I do that?
And we said this on podcast 1, we'll say it a million times, like, clearly our stories are very, very different, but clearly we have gotten to here to having a podcast and being very similar and very much best friends. But I think it goes to show that, like, even though your expectation was one thing, it was different. Even though my expectation was different, you are literally in your 20s. If you live to be 100 years old, like, to make math easy, you're at 20% of your life. You're at 30% of your life. Like, you have so much more life to go.
Like, it's okay that you don't know everything. I think that's a good thing to be like, and if you have stuff figured out, then, like, that's okay too. I think there's no right or wrong way to do your 20s. I don't think there's ever a, like, oh, yep, you're supposed to be here, or you're supposed to be here, or you're supposed to be here. I think looking at both of us, we are both in a very similar place. You obviously don't have kids and stuff, but, like, we're in a similar place now.
Yeah.
But 3-4 years ago, we were in completely different places. You were in school. I was married. I was having kids. You can be at different stages in your life, in your 20s, and still be in the right place for you. Like, I feel like people even now, like, I know a bunch of people who are 23 and 24 who are just getting their first jobs, and then you have people that are completely different and have been working since they were 15. It could all be great, and it could all be not great. That was horrible. That was fine. But, like, it could be good and it could not be good. Like, you could, you're where you're supposed to be. And I think it's just looking and being like, am I checking off a list? Are you, preparing yourself for when you are out of school and you're in real life as opposed to school life? Like, and if so, the things that could help you. So what would you say is something that would have helped you prepare better for when you got out of school, since you got out and you said, I don't know who I am? What do you, is there anything that could have helped you better prepare for that?
I would love to say yes, but if I'm being real honest, I think I had to get out of school to see that there was more world out there. And that might not be the case for everybody, but I was so entrenched in school that nothing else mattered. So I don't know personally for me. I think if I'm going more on a person that is, like, just more general getting out of school, that didn't make school their whole personality and life and, whatever, I think learning about the outside world, not always conspiracies and tinfoil hats, but, like, just learning that there are more ways to do it, because I think in school you learn a track. You're doing this class and then each semester is planned out. I think learning, when you get out of school, learning that you get to be an adult, and I think that would have helped me, is like understanding that I was living on my own. I was being an adult, even if you're just starting your adulthood. You are an adult when you are making your own decisions, and you're going to live, like, if we're going to make math easy, you're going to live to your 100, like to 100. So that makes your 20% of your life 30% of your life. Like, there's so much more that I think our whole 20s is supposed to be asking, what are we doing here?
I would agree with that. I think mine would be that there's more to life than just the check boxes. There's more than just a career. There's more than a spouse. There's more to life than that. And to set yourself up for that. So I think I was so career focused, which was great, and it's gotten me to a very great spot in my career. But then now I go, but I really like this, and I like this, and do I want this, and what it, am I going to enjoy doing this for the next 40 years? Like, it's made me question more the older I get. But like I said, I don't know if I would have had the mental capacity or like the mental picture to be like, oh, is this, like, I think your 20s is supposed to be that. I hate that it's like live and learn.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it is.
And I think I wouldn't have known that until I'm hitting the end of my 20s, looking forward to 30s. Like, there is no, like you said, no right way to do this. Like, you're supposed to mess up, you're supposed to do these things, but that's how you learn. Like, there is no, you and I are both on the same standpoint of, we don't regret things. Of course, we would love if things went differently sometimes, but we don't regret things because they got us to this point. And I think in our 20s, you question that a lot of like, am I doing this right? What am I doing? And I don't think there ever is going to be an answer until you're later and you go, oh, everything made sense. It all happened for a reason. Like, that saying, it sounds so cheesy and corny, but like, it all works out when you're on your deathbed. Like, it works out, right? Like, you get
I think
there.
I think even in your 30s and 40s or whatever, I think we constantly go, do I know how to do this? Do I know how to do life? Do I know what I'm doing? Like, deodorant sticks and like screwing the bottom up until the cap comes off. I was like, I've been living a lie my whole life. Like, that was a few years ago. And then and children's car seats, putting the loop, there's like 2 loops on the side, and I guess they perfectly fit the straps. I was like, we're all doing it wrong. No one's parenting right. There is actually somebody who said something funny, and it was like, he was like, my wife wants to create a book called I'm a Horrible Parent and You Are Too. Let me tell you why. And he was like, the whole premise was going to be like, yeah, I thought I was going to do this and I tried really hard, but this didn't happen. And then therefore I'm a horrible parent and you did this and you're a horrible parent. Like,
nobody knows what they're doing. At the end of the day,
nobody knows what they're doing.
Nobody knows what they're doing. There is no right or wrong. We truly
we're all...
don't know what we're doing here.
But we're all the same in some capacity, because then we all have very similar life experiences. But yeah, none of us know what we're doing at all.
We don't know what we're doing here, but thank you so much for listening to podcast episode 4. We will catch you later.